Congratulations on the purchase of your new RollNRack Power Roller. The time and energy you'll save will help you better serve your community and clientele. With a RollNRack Power Roller on the job, you'll prevent injuries and make a tough job easier and faster. There are only a few dozen steps, and it should take you about an hour. But if you need more information or you want to ask a question, visit the website www.rollnrack.com. Now, let's get started. Before any of the steps, carefully unpack the power roller and its contents. Report any damage to parts immediately. Compare the contents of boxes to the exploded view diagram and the parts list, which are enclosed. Make sure the tools, which are also listed, are ready for installation. Here's where the fun begins. Step 1. Use the 1 1/16 wrench to remove the nylon axle nut. Remove the tire and use it to prop the RollNRack unit up. Repeat on the other side. Step 2. Using the 3/4 inch wrench, remove the brake nylon nut, the brake, the plastic washer, the inner nut and bolt. Repeat on the other side. Step 3. On the right side idler tower, remove the lower 3 screws on both sides that hold in the lower spacer. Use the proper Allen wrench. This releases the spacer from the tower plates. Step 4. Remove the corner bolt and nut with the 7/32 Allen wrench and a 5/8 inch wrench. Step 5. Insert the idler tower over the RollNRack unit's right front rail. The circuit breaker switch should be facing forward. Step 6. At this time, make sure that the circuit breaker switch is in the down position. Step 7. Reinsert the corner bolt on the idler tower and start threading. Do not tighten. Step 8. To reinstall spacer bar, hold with one hand while starting center screw with the other. Notice the spacer has a slight bevel on the top of the bar. That bevel rests against the RollNRack unit. Step 9. Install the round stock connector bar now. Connector bar bolts into the upper hole near the axle supports on both sides of the RollNRack unit, just past the third roller, from the outside of the RollNRack unit frame. Step 10. Remove the lower spacer bar between the plates as with the right tower. Note this spacer also has that extra bevel that rests against the RollNRack unit. Step 11. Lift the tower and place it over the RollNRack left side. Step 12. Start the corner bolt, but leave loose. Step 13. Hold spacer bar and start screws through outer plate and into spacer. Step 14. Install the brake mounting bolt into the brake mounting hole. Gently tap into the mounting hole with a small hammer. Alignment will only happen if the plate is on loosely. If the tower is too tight for alignment, loosen recently installed screws. Step 15. After brake mounting bolt is tapped in all the way, install the plastic washer and nut. You'll be left with an extra nut. Please discard. Tighten nut and test brake. Make sure that the brake operates freely. If the brake sticks, loosen nut. Repeat for the other side. Step 16. Install the stabilization bar to the tower end using the 5/32 screws. Tighten. Step 17. Rock the tower to align the stabilization bar's mounting hole to the upper side hole on the RollNRack frame. Use the longer 1/4 inch bolt with washers for spacers. Insert and tighten. Step 18. Tower is now aligned, and you should now carefully tighten all installation screws. If it is still not aligned, loosen those installation screws and bolts and tap tower with a rubber mallet. Once tower is aligned, tighten those screws. Step 19. Repeat with the other tower. Step 20. Motor wiring is next. Remove the plug and nuts from the cord. Connectors must pass through one at a time. Please take note how plug is put together. Step 21. Feed power cord through behind the front plate and under the front roller of the rack and pull through the other side of the rack. Step 22. After the cord is pulled through to the other side of the RollNRack, place cord through nut. The connectors must pass through one at a time. Step 23. Thread the connectors through the connection plug. Now this is a tight fit, but this is necessary to keep the connector watertight. Step 24. Slide nut up to plug and tighten. Remember, tighten lightly with 15/16 wrench. Step 25. Take off the plug's outer nut for later use. Step 26. The power cord is now ready to install into the circuit breaker box. Remove the screws of the circuit breaker box and open the box. Step 27. Pull wires through and add nut to plug and tighten lightly with 15/16 wrench. Step 28. Plug the black connector next to the black connector in the box. Next, connect the white connector to the tab next to the white wire. Leave the circuit breaker cover off. Step 29. Reinstall the tires and nylon nuts with a 1 1/16 wrench. When you reinstall the tires, you must add an additional washer to the axle for proper spacing. Tires should spin freely. If tires don't spin freely, the nut is too tight. Loosen until tire spins freely. Step 30. Now you are ready to install the hand switch housing. Remove the 1/8 Allen screws to the hand switch housing. Place the switch box onto the handle. Note the angle of the switch housing. It should be at the same angle as the handle. And mark with a Sharpie marker the location for the screw that goes into the handle. Now it may be necessary to remove the handle, place it in a vise, protect handle with a cloth so as not to scratch the finish, and tap a center punch into the handle to start the screw. Use a self-tapping screw, provided, and a screw gun to install the screw. Step 31. Install the rest of the screws to the hand switch box. Do not over-tighten these screws. That will strip the threads. Step 32. Place battery pack onto the back of the top bar of the RollNRack unit. Connect plug to the battery box. Step 33. Flip the circuit breaker switch to the on position and test hand switch operation. The motor side should spin while hand switch is on. If it doesn't, check your connections. Step 34. Place cover back on circuit breaker box after confirmation of power to the motor. Be careful not to over-tighten screws. Step 35. Install on-off sticker onto housing. Step 36. To install the drain attachment, remove the 2 pins at the top of the 2 towers. Hold drain attachment and place the pins through the towers and through the drain attachment. Push pins in until they seat. Step 37. Lift the drain attachment up all the way and rest it onto the towers. Install the 10-inch swivel caster next. The drain attachment handle bolts onto the front of the drain attachment with the 9/16 wrenches. Set the drain attachment back onto the floor to lock in. Step 38. Attach the coupling jaws to each side tower. Pull the pin out and insert the jaw. When installing the jaws other than the 5-inch, there is a slight difference as to which side of the jaws rests against the hose. Coupling jaws will not grip properly if they don't match. Step 39. Take the drain attachment hose guide rollers and place in holes up front. Adjust as necessary. Step 40. Now that you have the power roller attachment placed onto the original RollNRack unit, you want to lay over the revised hose selection sticker over the pre-existing sticker. This allows for accurate hose loading. Step 41. Charge the battery by plugging the battery box into a standard 110-volt electric outlet. Battery box can be on the RollNRack unit or off. The green charger light will turn on when it is fully charged, about 8 to 10 hours when batteries are weak. Oh, and one other note. If you're rolling hose that's 3 inches or less in diameter, make sure you protect the couplings. RollNRack has included old LDH pieces with every order of 3 inches or smaller coupling jaws. Take a look at your new RollNRack Power Roller. Now you're on your way in preventing back strain, saving time and money. If you have additional questions about this assembly, please contact info@rollnrack.com or call 262-363-2030.